Well, Bernard Gaynor is no stranger to ADH TV viewers. He's a former Army Major, Iraq War veteran, and he's been running a one-man crusade to make public libraries safe again for children. I'm pleased to say he joins me down from Queensland. Bernard, thanks very much for your time. And just before we get into this, just a warning to viewers, and Bernie and I have been discussing this off air. Some of the images we're about to show are quite shocking and graphic, but we need to make people aware of this. So Bernard, what have you been uncovering in the public libraries around this nation through the network of people that are helping you?
Sure, good question, Lyle. Thanks for having me on. I think parents will be shocked to know that many public libraries in this country have comic-style books that either show children in sex acts or show rape pornography, and that this has been approved by government bureaucrats for distribution to children. So I'm talking about children in sex acts, pornographic Japanese-style comics, written by a man who claims that child pornography cartoons should be exempt from child pornography laws, are available widely across Australian libraries, plus a number of other rape pornography style comics. The good news is I've managed to have some of these books removed from 11 councils now in Queensland. I'm about to take the campaign national. These books have to go.
Bernie, a lot to unpack in what you've just said there, and it's good to hear you've had some success. Now, you're talking about children engaged in sex acts. Are these children engaged with adults in sex acts? Is that what is depicted in some of these books?
Yeah, absolutely, Lowell, it is. So there is one particular book called Genderqueer by Maya Kobe. She has drawn herself fantasising about pedophilia while she describes her masturbation habits and techniques. I wish I never had to say that sentence, but it is actually true. It shows a man touching a boy's genitalia. That has been approved by the Australian Classification Board and the Classification Review Board for distribution, including to children in this country. It's disgusting.
Bernie, presumably you've spoken to the Classification Board or written to them. What have they said when you've made representations and shown them this material which they have apparently approved for distribution in public libraries for children?
Sure. So you can see that image up there now. The Classification Review Board and the Australian Classification Board have decided that that image of a man touching a child is actually two consenting adults. The author says that she has drawn a minor. That's what the author has said. Child safety experts from the University of South Australia have confirmed that it is a child. The government bureaucrats who are responsible for protecting children from harmful content can look at an image of pedophilia and not identify the child. I think some Australians would cynically take the view that they are trying to normalise pedophilia. I'm prepared to take them on their word that they are acting in good faith. And what that means is that these bureaucrats are simply unable to do their job. If you can look at a cartoon of pedophilia and not identify the child, you should not be responsible for censorship or classification laws in Australia.
Yeah, I think that's shocking. So this idea that there's material of adult child sexual material in public libraries, in books targeted at children, is shocking enough. Some of the other material, though, that you've told me about off air has to do with sexual violence as well. Now, that to me is shocking, given society's concern about violence against women. Why would we allow these sort of depictions, again, targeted at children in council libraries?
So, Lyle, this is a question that I think the Communications Minister needs to answer. So right now, the federal government and the states and many councils across Australia have signed up to spend billions of dollars to combat gender-based violence. They are running a program now to berate Australian parents into teaching their children about consent. And the problem, in fact, is not Australian parents, it's the government. The government itself can look at an image of a man holding a woman down, threatening to kill her husband, her children, and her, over the words Rodeo F, which you can see there. And they can look at that and say that this is a consensual activity between two adults. Now, look, the word Rodeo F is very interesting term to use by the author in this cartoon. It implies riding a bucking animal for sexual pleasure as she is trying to escape. The person who has drawn this shows gratification in sexual violence, and the Australian Classification Board, the government censors, simply have got no idea what consent is if they think that this is suitable for children, which they have decreed it is. It is disgusting.
This is outrageous, Bernie. And look, I know we've spoken about this. You and I have spoken about this earlier, I think this year and perhaps even last year. You've been on the show a few times now. And yet we're failing to see any action by government. Now, you mentioned that some councils have withdrawn this and you're about to take the campaign national. What do you think is the impediment to authorities acting on this? It seems like an open and shut case.
Well, look, Lyle, again, I'm not going to accuse government bureaucrats of trying to legitimise rape pornography. I take their word when they say they look at that image and that it is consensual activity. What that means is that they are inept. They are simply unable to do their job. They should all be sacked, every single one of them.
Yeah.
When it comes to councils, they are dealing with library networks that are highly woke and are desperately trying to keep these books on the shelves. They are organised. They've just sent out training manuals to librarians across the country, explaining to librarians to simply turn off the phone and ignore complaints about these books. I think a lot of counsellors want these books gone. They are dealing with the bureaucracy who are desperately trying to keep them on the shelves. Quite often what happens is that I will write to counsellors and the CEO, showing them what's in their books. They will come back and say, from the bureaucratic side of things, there is nothing wrong with them. They've been approved. And then I'll talk to the local newspaper, and all of a sudden the council will decide that the books are old and tatty. And so that is the official reason why they're being removed. We all know what's going on here. There are people who want kids to have this stuff. This is what groomers do. There are people trying to get rid of it. I'm happy to be on the right side of history on this one. These books are going to go, and we're going to embarrass every single person along the way who tries to stop us.
No, good on you, Bernie. Now, Bernie, I said at the start of this segment that you were well known to many people, and many viewers of this show, I'm sure, are familiar with your work over many years as a free speech advocate and someone who has gone into bat against the LGBTIQA+ political agenda. You've been in court more than 40 times. Again, you were telling me off air that you've been taken to court again by the homosexual activist Gary Burns. What's going on this time? I would have thought, having lost so many cases, he's lost every case against you, and yet he's again instigated legal action.
Well, some people just like losing, Lyle, I guess. They can't help themselves. I think it's 43-0 now. Look, the fact is, in Queensland last year, a Greens candidate at the Brisbane City Council election published a family homes address and tried to organise a mob of gay activists to turn up on their doorstep because they opposed the Gay Pride March through a local children's park. I organised a number of Christian men to stand out the front of that home and take up the space there to prevent that gay mob from descending upon that family home. It's quite an intimidating incidents, actually. I think it's disgusting that the Greens candidate would do that.
Good on you.
That's what the Greens are. This has nothing to do with New South Wales. I did not mention any activists, homosexual or otherwise, who live in New South Wales. I did not talk about anything that occurred in New South Wales. For publishing a video showing this Greens candidate whinging about the fact that we took up space outside this home with an image that was published in the Australian newspaper back in 2016 about the bullying tactics of these LGBT activists. The New South Wales Anti-Discrimination Board has decided that it is going to interfere in something that happened in Queensland. I now face a $100,000 fine for being involved, in political action leading up to the Brisbane City Council election under New South Wales law. It is ridiculous. Even if we're going to get to the point where the high courts start deciding that these brain-dead bureaucrats from New South Wales can implement their woke ideology in other parts of Australia, then this country's finished. But I'm
Yeah.
going to fight this one, and this is going to end one way or the other. Either we're going to end with legal chaos, where every state has extraterritorial jurisdiction over the speech of other people in other states, or we're going to get back to normality, and the states are going to keep within their boundaries, because this is just ridiculous.
No, it's ridiculous. These vilification, anti-discrimination laws are flawed. I'm being sued under them. You've been sued 43 times. There just seems to be no end. Bernie, we really admire your fighting spirit. Where can people go to get information about, particularly the library campaigns, and how can they support you in that as it goes national?
Sure. Well, thanks, Lyle. So the best way to keep up to date with what's happening with the library stuff is to go to my webpage, bernardgaynor.com.au. That's bernardgaynor.com.au, and sign up to my email newsletter list, and I'll let you know what's happening. And you can, if you want to support, and I'm very grateful for the support I've received, you can also donate there as well. So thanks for asking, Lyle.
No, very good. bernardgaynor.com. Make sure you go there, check it out, donate, support, get behind this campaign to clean up our libraries for the sake of our kids. Bernie, really appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining us.